This video is a training video to show you how to put a slick magneto on a Lycoming engine. This is a Lycoming 320. Now I do want to point out this training video is strictly for training. It's just a general guide on how to install the magneto. If you're going to do it for an aircraft or your practical, make sure you pull out the tech manual and use it. The first thing I want to do before I start is remove any spark plug lead that's left onto the engine. If only one magneto has been removed, you may still have the other spark plug leads on. Then I remove the spark plugs on the top, the easiest ones to get to. Once that has been done, then I want to find the data plate for the engine. It's usually located in one of two spots, either on the case up in this area here or on the oil pan. This particular engine is located in the back of the oil pan, hard to see. Let's see if we can find the data plate on the oil pan. Data plate is located right there, if you can make it out. On that data plate, in the lower right hand corner, will give us what our spark advance is. So after we find the spark advance, then I want to find compression on number 1 cylinder. And that's our compression stroke. Now what I want to do is use the timing marks on the front of the pulley and the little indentation that's on the starter to line up the actual timing mark. Now that that's done, I can get the magneto and start to install it. If by any chance you're trying to do this with the bottom cowl on, if it's possible to get to the magneto, or if you're just checking the timing, Lycoming also has timing marks on the back of the flywheel. There's a special tool you would use to do that, which I will show you when we actually install the magneto. Now that we have the engine at 25 degrees before top dead center, it's time to start dealing with the magnetos. The magneto, like the engine, have data plates on it. This data plate is very important because it has the direction of rotation on the magnetos. We have some magnetos that rotate right, some rotate left. The importance of that is when we put our locking pin in, and we must put it all the way into this land here, we have two holes in the back of the magneto. One is left, one is right. We need to make sure we put the pin in the proper hole. On this particular magneto, it would be the left one. The other part you need to worry about is the front. This magneto has an impulse coupler, this magneto don't. When we're trying to insert the locking pin on this particular magneto, we can spin it either direction. It doesn't matter. However, with this magneto, because of the impulse coupler, if we spin it in the proper direction of rotation, the impulse coupler will engage and it will stop the internal movements of the magneto until the coupler hits. At that point in the stage, the magneto will advance about 25 degrees and it will move at a fast pace. If at time, this is the back of the timing gear, if we have the pin in there, we could catch this spot here or this spot. When it advances, it's by spring. In that case, we could either break the pin or mess up the gear. As we're rotating the magneto to try to find the left hole on this particular one, we have to worry about if we hit these two spots. If we do, we may have to pull the pin up just a little bit to get past the spot and then continue to rotate it so we can find the hole. Let's see if we can find our timing hole. There, the pin is completely inside the hole. We're ready to go. We've got our Magneto pinned. The engine's at 25 degrees before top dead center. We're ready to install the mag. When we go to put the slick Magneto in, we want to hold it about as straight as possible because there's not as much twist to try to do our final timing. So we got to make sure we have the gasket in, and we make sure at this point in time with the pin in, we do not turn the Magneto. Once it's in the engine, we do not turn the engine. We just simply slide it in with the gasket on. Got to make sure it engages the gear. And make sure it's up flush against the housing. We'll put the upper locking tab in. We'll put the nut on. I usually tighten these nuts as tight as I can by hand, just to hold the Magneto in place, but give me a little bit of room to twist it. Make sure it's not too tight. Putting the bottom one on. And pull the pin. Now that the pin is out, we're free to be able to rotate the prop and the Magneto. I'm going to hook up my timing tool to this engine instead of the company's timing tool, mainly because it's quieter and it won't make as much noise unless the points are open. So now that we're hooked up, as I said earlier, Lycoming makes a special tool to use for timing the engine if you're going to do it on the top. As I said, we find the timing mark in the top here, the 25. We put this pointer on the 25, and this pointer needs to point to the case. That looks good right there. And we're ready to go. Now I'm going to turn on my timing tool. And I want to twist the Magneto till I can hear the points go off. At that point in stage, now I want to pull the prop back. Whenever we back the prop up, we must back it up at least 10 degrees so we can take out the gear lash. We do not want to back it up too far, or we can reset the impulse coupler and then it won't work. If we do reset the impulse coupler, we just need to advance the prop until it goes off and then back it back up again. Now let's start timing our engine. Not quite. Let me rotate it some. Pull it back. Try it again. Looks like I went the wrong way. It's a bit too far. Let's move the prop, move the Magneto some more. Pull the prop back. Now let's bump the prop forward till it goes off. We're almost there. One little more tweak. That looks good. Now we have to tighten the Magneto and see if it moves. I'm going to back the prop up to shut the tool off. I'm going to snug these nuts, mainly because this engine's been going to be used over and over again for the Magnetos. Normally they're torqued about 200 inch-pounds, but make sure you check the book. Now that I've got it going, let's check it again. We're still on the money. Now remember, for the most part, it's going to be the same thing as timing a Bendix Magneto as it is a slick. There are a few minor differences that we'll get into. But as far as putting a slick Magneto on a Lycoming engine, that's pretty much as simple as it gets. I wanted to add this to the video just in case you happen to be one of the students that goes somewhere else other than AIM to do your practical. You may run across a Bendix Magneto. There's not a whole lot of difference between installing a Bendix Magneto and a slick. One of the big difference is instead of having the pin that you lock the Magneto in place with, we'll look for a red colored tooth. Once we find that tooth, we put it in the middle of that window, the little hole on top of the Magneto. If you want to, they have a special tool to hold the gear in place. It looks like this. The problem with this tool here, just like the pin in the slick, if you put this in and then somebody should turn the Magneto, you can do some damage. The other major difference between a Bendix Magneto and a slick Magneto is the Bendix doesn't have a P-lead for you to hook the timing tool to, so you've got a special adapter like this. This would screw into the back of the Magneto, and now we would hook our tester there to time the engine. Everything else is the same. You got to find the timing spark advance on the engine. Some of the newer Continentals, they actually have timing marks on the pulley. If it's one of the older ones, they got a special, which would be a different video, to use the timing mark with the timing gear, timing cone.